Cool. All right, great. Thanks for the invitation to talk, and appreciate it, Adam. Yeah, like Lassie, you've just heard, I too was on the Business Accelerator as part of the RGU cohort at the beginning of the year. And a little bit about myself. I'm a geologist by background. I spent 25 years working as an oil geologist, and decided I need a refreshing change. And I've partnered with a Latvian master carpenter who's my business partner. And about a year and a half ago, we set up Highland Heritage Woodworks. And the slide in front of you would be a typical kind of collection of bespoke joinery that we would make, whether it's someone's front door or a fancy staircase or something like a greenhouse. It's about using timber. Now, traditionally, we would source that timber from a whole variety of places. Not since I've been involved, but traditionally that's what bespoke carpenters do. They seek the best materials wherever that comes from, and some of that material comes from, let's say, not particularly well thought out or managed sources. So as a kind of a business that's looking for a bit of change, we are looking to diversify what we do. So we're still doing our bespoke joinery, but actually sourcing much more locally and sustainably sourced materials. But actually, as part of the accelerator, we've gone into what we're calling the BPod. So I'm just going to show that next slide. So for us, this is a departure, moving away from bespoke stuff, moving towards a product that we kind of own ourselves, and we have full control of that product and in terms of where the materials have come from, which is exceptionally important to us. A lot of these things kind of go hand in hand with terms of making good business sense and making good sense for the people that you work with and who work for you. And also, most importantly, probably, is making good sense for the planet. Now, one thing I'm still struggling with is the idea of kind of building things that people go and spend leisure time in, but actually, people will desire to spend time holidaying and relaxing. Now, if we can attract some people to spend time, not traveling as far, perhaps, and staying a bit more local, because we've created this pretty sustainable building and structure in which for them to enjoy that time, perhaps they're less inclined to quickly jump on a plane and fly away to Western Europe or further afield. So our ethos here is that, we live in a fantastic country. I'm a Welshman by background, but I have so adopted Scotland. It's just an incredible place to be and a beautiful place for people to visit, whether most of our tourists are actually coming from England, and to give them an opportunity to stay in somewhere quite special. So that's kind of where we're going at with the BPod. What it is, as you can see, it's a hexagonal structure. It's what's called a post and beam structure. It's made from Douglas fir. So those trees that are, providing the raw material for this, and I'm sure there'll be some interesting questions about whether, commercial plantation is a sustainable thing. I'm not quite sure where I sit on that, but certainly, Douglas fir was planted at the end of the war as a way of kind of providing commercial timber resources into Scotland, and it goes particularly well here. So Douglas fir, larch is another kind of key building material for us, and our structure is made about 95% between those two trees, Douglas fir and larch. And what we're doing is we're sourcing it from within 20 or 30 miles of our workshops here. We're milling all of that on site, predominantly with electric equipment, so we don't have a sort of a carbon footprint, if you like, around diesel usage or petrol usage for our machinery. We've chosen to provide or purchase a green renewable tariff for our electricity. So in terms of the energy that we consume, that's kind of part of our story. And I completely admit, we're on a journey here. What we're ultimately wanting to make is a really beautiful product and a beautiful structure, but actually along that way, we're trying to come back and peel back as close as we can be to being the greenest that we can be, because that's that's what we feel passionately and personally. So our structure, hexagonal shape structure, which we are starting to build. I've got another slide that I can share here. It may play through okay. It's a sort of a 3D render of what our structure looks like. We are utilizing what's called a green roof, and there are various flavors of green roof, all the way from basically a simple sedum roof through to wildflower meadows, through to even more sustainable structures where you're utilizing the raw materials from the site. The BPod that we are making doesn't have any concrete in it. There are simple ground screw foundations, so it sits very light in the environment. And it's put together by a small team of carpenters who are, working with us here. Part of what we're kind of striving to do is to seek the best people that we can to come and work with us. So my business partner is a master carpenter. We've got an architectural team who really believe in what it is that we're trying to do. All the boys and girls that work here come with exceptional skills and passion in what they do. And so that idea that an organization can think about, its people and its resources, can think about the raw materials that it can use. And let's be reasonable, also needs to think about its profit, because if a company is profitable, it means that it can actually strive to get the best that it can for its business, to do the best that it can for its staff, and also the best that it can for the community in which it operates and functions. Part of our work is about giving back, so we try and work with local schools to provide, planters and introductions to the workshop here for the local school children and the like, so they can start to see that not everything needs to be sat behind a computer desk. There are opportunities for careers inside working with your hands, and apprenticeships and the like. In terms of what we do in the workshop, we have a fully functional space. We have guys here who are absolute masters in what they do. We use, as I said, we source local Douglas fir and larch, and having that kind of provenance and story is really valuable to us, not too dissimilar to Lassie, where we're able to put our hand on that material. We're able to say to our customers that the trees that have gone into the pod have come from within 20 or 30 miles of where it's manufactured, and I think that certainly adds to the story. In terms of Scotland, and from a tourism perspective, there's an awful lot of people that overnight and spend time in Scotland, and it's worth an enormous amount of money to the local economy. So being a part of that story with our offer, it means that we're able to share some of that. In terms of how Scotland's land use is changing, landowners are looking to diversify, and what it means is that there's a change in the way that the land around us is being utilized, less from agriculture, more towards how that land can be made to work in a different way, in a more sustainable way, whereby people are enjoying the landscape more, they're connecting with nature, rather than simply that land being utilized for intensive agriculture. So I'm not saying all of that is happening, but there's certainly a shift away in terms of how land use is changing. What we are hoping to do as part of our kind of offer is that not only is the BPod a product for us that we're trying to build and I guess ultimately sell and deploy, is that as part of our offer, and like other speakers who are here, it's about how can we create additional local jobs? How can we revive some of those traditional skills by offering apprenticeships and craftsmanships, if you like? What's really important to us is how the timber that is a really valuable asset to us here in the Northeast is actually allowed to be utilized to its fullest as close to the source as possible. We try and utilize absolutely every part of a tree. It's a little like Lassie and the waste that they have. We try to absolutely minimize that because it's a hugely valuable resource, and simply just choosing the choicest portions of that tree and discarding the rest is not where we want to be. So pretty much everything is used. Of course, the part of work that we do is we interact with local suppliers who provide additional sort of items and services into our builds, so we're actually involving a much wider community. And our aspiration is that whilst we supply a BPod to a customer, is actually that they can utilize that space to bring in additional craftspeople to complement that build, whether it's textiles in there for coverings or seating, or there's a local carpenter who's being brought in to supply a set of tables and chairs. It's not just about our product and what we offer, is how do we create a wider organization. I think that's probably the last slide that I had. And just a little bit more about our building and how it's all sort of fitted out internally. Pretty much everything, like I said, 95% of what the building comes from that local Douglas fir and larch. And a couple of things that we can't control is things like windows and doors and some of the other elements. I'm not suggesting we should have a hot tub on the balcony, but I guess part of this was our promotional materials. But that for us is the BPod, sustainably made, I guess, sustainably sourced timber, local craftsmanship, and about encouraging people to holiday closer to, this incredible country that we have. Thanks, Adam.